What's up, Thunder family? Welcome to episode 4 of Thunder Talk. It's been a while since we've been in the studio, guys, because we had spring break, and we hope you guys had a restful spring break. So much has happened in the world of sports, and I'm here joined by my co-host, Mr. Martin Luther Sander. And we're going to talk so much about what's happened in sports, so let's get on to it. During March, we had the World Baseball Classic. Venezuela, they ended up winning their first ever World Baseball Classic against the United States in a 3-2 dramatic final. Over here in Miami, what do you think about it, Martin?
It was crazy. I've never watched like baseball before this thing, but with all of my Venezuelan friends and all of that, they got me onto it. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, I thought Japan was gonna defeat Venezuela, in a super fast playoff game, but it was actually the opposite.
No.
Venezuela managed to pull off a win, especially since I saw Otani at first base. He got a home run immediately from his first time.
That was really fast.
His first time batting into the game. It was just crazy, seeing the atmosphere, seeing how many people are passionate about baseball. Congratulations to Venezuela winning, and the U.S. man, they're gonna have to do some major work because us Hispanics we're beating them.
The MLB being the biggest baseball league in the world.
Right, you would think that they would try to win, especially since the All-Stars, but no, Venezuela ended up winning. But moving on,
Props to them.
another thing we want to talk about is the World Cup eliminatory rounds. The biggest one being that Italy ends up losing to Bosnia and Herzegovina.
That was insane. I was watching the game. I was nervous. I kind of did want Italy to win. You need to have a big team in the World Cup, such as Italy, with prestige and all this dynasty, 4 World Cups, these amazing players. But these last years have been rough for them.
Right.
It's complicated.
They haven't made the World Cup in 12 years. They haven't made the last 3.
Yeah,
Which
I
I
think
find
the
that
last one
surprising.
was
2014 in Brazil.
2014. Yeah.
Personally, I was going for Bosnia just for the jokes because, I remember back in the 2022 eliminatory, they were facing North Macedonia, and this is fresh when Italy won the Euro, and they lost against North Macedonia of all teams, a little country who ended up being the powerhouse that is Italy. So I was just going for Bosnia. Lost I think 4-1 in penalties against Bosnia.
It's very surprising because you would think, like you said, a powerhouse such as Italy with a big team, because they do have a really good team. I mean, Bastoni's playing in Inter, Retegui is also playing in Inter. They have good players. You would think that they would have good chemistry to play with, and they dominated most of the game with that one goal. That red card ruined them. That last goal that ended up sending them to penalty. A red card will always ruin you. It weakens your team.
I think moving on, what Italy needs to do is they need to start investing into the domestic league, because the big issue that I see is that they're having a lot of international players take up a lot of the minutes over in the Serie A, and they're not letting the young players, develop. This is the same thing that happened in Germany back in the 2000s, but they fixed it. The Bundesliga started investing into their core league. They let the domestic players play a bit more, and ultimately led them to get a World Cup back in 2014. Let's see what Italy does moving forward, because missing 3 World Cups is a bit of an embarrassment. Democratic Republic of Congo, they beat Jamaica 1-0. In Iraq, they are surprised that they ended up being Bolivia, make the World Cup. Republic made the World Cup, as we saw, and we saw that Denmark got eliminated from the World Cup. So is Poland. Yeah, Sweden ended up making the World Cup because they beat Poland. I was surprised that Lewandowski, he ended up getting eliminated.
But I know that was a really good game. It ended up 3-2. A lot of goals. It was really fun.
Last but not least, what we want to talk about is March Madness. This has been an absolutely crazy tournament that we've been seeing over the past couple of days. A big shocker for me has been the Duke versus UConn game.
That was insane.
For me, that was the game of the year, because Duke, they were up by a whole bunch of points in the game, and then come the second half, they blew the lead. I think they were up by like 20 something against UConn. The UConn ended up beating Duke due to a game winner 3 by Braylon Mullins, what I believe fractions of 1 second.
Oh my God.
I remember, seeing that. I was like absolutely shocked, because I'm like, how do you blow that lead? Especially with Cameron Boozer winning the AP Player of the Year, so being one of 5 freshmen ever, the AP Player of the Year award as a freshman. That's just absolutely incredible. But Duke, they eliminated. I thought they were gonna win the tournament, but it looks like they didn't. So the finals is gonna be UConn versus Michigan.
Right?
At the time of this recording, we don't know who's gonna win. I'm going for UConn just because they have more experience in this. Dan Hurley's an incredible college coach. Who are you going for, Martin?
I think I might actually have to go with UConn too. They've been doing a pretty good campaign this year.
They definitely been a dynasty. I remember, they've been in this finals numerous times with Dan Hurley. Definitely an elite college coach. And
They have a lot of experience.
while the men hasn't finished at the time of this recording, the women's, they have finished. We saw that UCLA, they won their first ever team of March Madness women's basketball tournament against South Carolina. It's been a great year for UCLA. They had a great record. They played intense against South Carolina, which I know the men's, they haven't won in a while. They haven't won since the Wooden era in the 70s. So hey, those guys, they gotta step it up.
Just a little opinion. It's always crazy. Like, for example, what happened with Italy too. Such a big school like Duke getting eliminated in a semifinal is it was pretty shocking. And seeing and winning.
Especially with a result like that, you know. That being said, Thunder family, now we're to the next segment.
What's up, Thunder? That was kind of clean. What's up, Thunder family? Welcome to another segment. We're gonna be doing top 5 today. Let's get into it. All right, Martin, what are we discussing?
So we're gonna be discussing our top 5 sports news during the months of March and April. And to begin with, the Florida Panthers are missing their playoffs. They have a pretty big injury history this season. Their star, Alexander Barkov, has been injured too. So that's going to be a really big problem for them.
Yeah, and I do want to ask. I'm not much of a hockey guy, but I'm pretty sure the Florida Panthers were like the best team for a couple of years, no?
Yeah, they are a pretty big team, and they've been winning championships. They won 2 Stanley Cups in a row, so it's insane news that they're missing the playoffs. But injuries can mess up your entire team from one day to another. So yeah.
Moving on to number 4, the NFL free agency. We got some interesting moves happening. Miami Dolphins losing Jalen Waddle. We're losing Tua now. He went to the Atlanta Falcons. Great guy. I really wish the best for him. But on another note, the Raiders trade with Max Crosby canceled. That was some sort of exam that he had to take that he failed. I think it was the physical.
Yeah, he failed the physical.
Honestly, I'm actually kind of glad the Ravens didn't get Max Crosby, because that's another thing that Joe Burrow has to worry about. Joe Burrow's getting absolutely flamed already with Myles Garrett, and of course Cameron Hayward. He's playing against some tough competition on that D-line and linebackers, and then now he has to deal with Max Crosby. So glad that did not happen. And Stephon Diggs also got released. Yeah, moving on to number 3 is Jason Tatum.
He's coming back from an Achilles injury pretty quickly, actually.
I actually didn't expect him to come back this quickly. I thought he was going to be out for even longer, but...
Pretty quick recovery. I thought he was going to be missing for maybe around the year, 9 months, give or take.
What do we think? Do you think he's going to do better, or do you think that much time away is going to do something to him?
I'm not a huge fan of the Bostons. I'm a Heat fan. I don't really like them, but I really like Jason Tatum. He's a really good player. I hope he comes back good. I think he can improve after that injury.
And moving on to our top 2,
Italy missing the World Cup for the 3rd time in a row. This is shocking news. They made it to the finals for the playoffs, losing against Bosnia by penalty. It was a crazy match. It was really fun. Italy had the lead for most of the game. Then Bosnia tied near the end, and they ended up losing on penalties. It's shocking. You need to have such a big team. I mean, 4 World Cup wins. Last time that they won was 2006. Last time that they played was 2014. It's insane that they're missing another World Cup.
Yep, and it's even crazier to say that this number 1, this person has had an even worse time in Italy. Kobe Bryant, 4 records broken by these players. Let's start off with the most obvious. Bam Adebayo dropping
83 points.
83 points
in one game. That was insane. That was a crazy game.
Previously held by Kobe Bryant for 2nd most points all time in a game, in a single game. Gotta feel bad for Kobe. You're gonna feel even more bad after you hear the rest of this. Cooper Flagg, most 20-point games by a teenager, passes Kobe on that too. Now Cooper Flagg takes that title for most 20-point games by a teenager. Gotta feel for Kobe. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, Luka passes him on most 30-point triple doubles, specifically on the Lakers. But as you know, Kobe was the Lakers, and he held that record, 30-point triple doubles, and now he lost it to Luka.
It was bound to happen. Luka's an amazing player.
Luka is an amazing player. It was gonna
happen at some point.
I mean, come on, we're talking about Kobe Bryant here. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse. Nicholas Batum, more 3-pointers than Kobe made. He's tied. He was tied, and now he passed him. 1,827 3-pointers made at the time of tying Kobe Bryant. I mean, this is just genuinely unfortunate for Kobe Bryant. He was one of the all-time greats, and he's just getting completely dethroned by everybody, And
in the span of, I think,
3 days.
3 months.
It was in 3 days.
Oh my God.
Four records broken in 3 days. Right. That was an unfortunate week.
That was.
I mean, all due respect to these players. These players are great, but I mean, you just gotta feel for Kobe, man. Rest in peace. And yeah, that was our top 5.
Over to the next segment.
Wait, let me.
What's up, Thunder family, and welcome to a new edition of Hot Takes. Here I'm joined by our current guest, Luciano Sopola, who is here with us. In our first episode, he has a hot take. Luciano, what is your hot take?
Well, my hot take is that Shawn Michaels is the GOAT in WWE, and I have my reason. You want to know why?
Yeah, I want to know why, because this is blasphemy.
Well, my first reason is that he is the goat in the microphone. Even if he was a heel, if he was a baby face, or when he had to do a funny segment with Triple H or the Generation X.
Okay. The reason why I say it's blasphemy is because I think Hulk Hogan is the goat of wrestling. Hulk Hogan, passed away. He's a legend in pro wrestling. He changed wrestling in the 80s. He made wrestling big in America in the 80s
Yes.
by having a lot of kids, watch wrestling and grow up to watch it. And in the 90s, he changed the game again, when he was in the WCW and he joined the NWO and he became the greatest heel that wrestling seen, forcing WWE to have the Attitude Era. And we all know that the Attitude Era led to the Ruthless Aggression Era.
Yes.
So he had a huge impact. And whenever you think of wrestling, you just think of Hulk Hogan. What of Shawn Michaels?
Well, I say Shawn Michaels not only because the microphone. Also, he is like one of the pioneers in the hybrid wrestling style. So yeah, because thanks of him and Bret Hart, now we have like wrestling styles like Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, and we can keep going that.
Well, that don't work for me, brother. Well, guys, if you have a hot take you would like to share here on the show, please scan the QR code that we'll have listed on this episode. And we'll see you in the next one, guys.
Oh, welcome Thunder family to a new segment called Sport Court, where two students disagree on a take and they're gonna battle it out with, of course, an unbiased jury deciding who is guilty and innocent.
Thank you, Judge Choi. So let's look at the file. Okay, so John over here says that the Ronaldinho and Messi-led Barcelona team had a greater impact in soccer than the Real Madrid team led by Ronaldo. Well, let's see if you're innocent or guilty of blasphemy. Gentlemen, you may begin.
So let's start off with one of the most obvious facts here. Ronaldo's team was one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant team in Champions League history, winning 4 Champions League in a matter of 5 years. The only one that they lost was in the 14-15 season, semifinals to Juventus. Secondly, they had a way more complete squad overall and everything. I mean, the midfield was insane with Luka Modric and Toni Kroos in there. Then Ronaldo, obviously one of the greatest players in history ever. Then they constantly were beating top-notch teams. They didn't have weak Champions League groups, beating PSG, Juventus, Barca even sometimes. And obviously they were way more consistent. I mean, Ronaldinho's Barca only lasted 2 years at their prime, at their peak, while Real Madrid was half a decade. They also had a way better adaptability, and they had so much, like they were just better at counter. They got the ball back and they just ran over to the goal, instant goals half of the time. And then of course we have the best point out there, which is best manager. Zidane was one of the greatest to ever live as a player, and then as a manager, his tactics were, he almost had like no foul in there. And of course Ronaldo, the leader of this team. So I think that gives it like a really big boost. Top scorer in Champions League, Mr. Champions League as they call him. So yeah, I think you're crazy with that argument.
All right. I've heard enough. Defendant John, it's your turn now.
That was the worst argument I've ever heard in my whole life. Now, personally, they did win a lot of trophies, but Barca was coming out of a trophy slump where they won like nothing. And when Ronaldinho joined and Messi also joined, they won in like those 4 years. They won the Champions League, they won 2 La Liga titles, they won a bunch of Copa del Rey. Personally, they won the same amount as La Liga titles as Ronaldo did in his whole career in Real Madrid. Also, when you talked about they had a complete team, Barcelona had Xavi and Iniesta, like the best center mid partnership in the whole, like in history, like the best center mid partnership in history. Plus, in defense, they had Puyol and Rafa Marquez, which is a great duo to have. And they also had Eto'o and Henry, plus Rivaldo in that team, which are like the 3 of like the best attackers from that generation. Plus, they basically revolutionized tiki-taka, even though it was before Pep Guardiola. It was like the beginning of tiki-taka, and without like Rijkaard, who was the coach at that time, without his contribution to the game, it would probably be like probably modern football would not be the same as how it is now without Frank Rijkaard and Ronaldinho and Messi. Plus, they had one of the most complete teams in history, and in 4 seasons, they won as many La Ligas as Ronaldo did. They also won a Champions League, which by that time, teams were far more competitive than they were in that time. And they won it against one of the best Arsenal teams of all time. They won it against the invincible team with all these great players. So personally, that's why I think they're better.
All right, defendant. Thank you for your saying. Let's let the jury decide.
Thank you guys, and I agree with Marlon.
After hearing this argument, I'm gonna have to go with John.
It leads up to me. I agree with John.
All right, thank you, jury. They have decided the guilty one will be Martin. Multiple counts of blasphemy and breaking my eardrums. McGregor, take him away.
Nah, they were bribed the pockets of pull that money out of them, buy it.
And that is case adjourned.
Okay. Defend. You want to give him a punishment?
Personally, I believe.